Okay, team, we are live. And allow me just a few moments since I want to share this um, from Humanities Team page to my personal one. So if people have any questions and stuff like that. Mm, we're supposed to be live. I don't see us. Okay, I see us now. Okay, team. Since 1 second. Ready. Okay, I'm ready. Um, Tim, I was telling you is that perhaps I'm gonna be looking because I'm gonna be writing what you're saying in case I don't want to miss anything, so I can translate properly. So don't be offended if I'm not looking at the screen.
Of course.
Basically, bueno, gracias a todos los que están viendo este video y los que lo van a ver en diferido. Estoy haciendo esto para Humanities Team y Tim Noe aquí es un chico que he conocido en Humanities Team. Me parece una persona muy interesante y muy sabia. Un chico que vive realmente en el día a día los principios espirituales. Entonces por eso tengo bastante interés en conocerlo. Tim, ¿te interesaría presentarte un poquito sobre quién eres, a qué te dedicas, qué haces?
See, now forgive me, I'm not quite on the same level of Spanish speaking as you are, Sahit. But I think maybe some critical points we can sit with. I believe you asked me about just how I work with Humanities Team. This is the thought?
Yes,
Um,
I was just asking you to introduce yourself. What do you do? What's your background? Stuff like that.
okay, so I work with Humanities Team, and clearly you, Sahit, are a country coordinator for Humanities Team. And we are an organization that is rooted in the value of oneness. And so, to be honest, it's almost unimportant what we do with it because the value of oneness is the core, is what unites us, what inspires us. And we just see we're kind of led into doing what we are called to do from this state of being, from this value of oneness. Now, the importance of
Give me a
one.
second, please,
Sure.
so I can translate properly.
Oh,
Primero que quería disculparme por no tengo el mismo nivel de español que tú, Said, y de quizás los puntos más críticos los podamos hablar con traducción, si es que no alcanza mi español. En Humanity Team, tú eres un coordinador de país y lo que nosotros somos es una organización que está enraizada en el valor de la unidad. No es tan importante lo que hacemos, en realidad, sino que partimos nosotros del estado del ser de la unidad y eso nos inspira y nos lleva, hay un llamado a hacer ciertas cosas, pero siempre es desde el estado del ser y el valor de la unidad.
sí. Gracias. And yes. So the importance of oneness is that it sets a framework, it sets a starting point from which we can experience oneness. So everybody has a starting point. Everybody has a worldview, a perspective, a belief system, a set of values. Everybody has one of these. We can't avoid it. Now, every one of these systems, because these are systems of thought, systems of belief, is rooted in something. Every system of belief is rooted in, we could think of a root belief or a root thought. Now, really, go ahead, see.
Ujú. Es importante en el sentido de que la unidad es un conjunto de ideas, un sistema de pensamiento y ese es nuestro punto base para partir. Todas las personas tenemos un punto de vista con referente al mundo o una perspectiva. Tenemos sistemas de creencias y eso no lo podemos evitar. Todos los seres humanos tenemos eso. Pero cada sistema de creencias tiene una creencia raíz o una creencia origen, por así decirlo.
See, now it is possible for us to hold a starting point that is mistaken. Beliefs can be mistaken. You know, in essence, in effect, we can believe in something that's not true. We can believe that we are not believing in something. You know, this is a paradox. We can believe that we are not here now. It doesn't mean it's true, but we can believe this.
Las creencias pueden estar equivocadas. Nosotros podemos creer algo que no es verdad. Podemos creer que no creemos nada y eso sería una paradoja. O puede ser que en lo que creemos en algo, pero no necesariamente lo hace verdad.
See? And often when we're in the thick of things, in the day-to-day activities, or just busy, and this is really in today's society most of the time, you know, our world kind of prides itself on being so busy doing things. And if you're not busy, then it's kind of like, you know, you're outside of society in some way because you have to be so busy and doing things doing. So with all this doing, we don't collectively as a world we don't often inspect and get to this root idea that we hold. It's often takes a radical shift in our life. It often takes some sort of, you know, rock bottom where we're called into this into by necessity into a spiritual practice where we're forced into introspection and inspecting this root belief. Without this kind of impetus, we kind of just coast on autopilot without inspecting this.
Nosotros vivimos en un mundo en el que el mundo se jacta de ser un mundo ocupado y parece ser que si tú no eres una persona ocupada, entonces no eres parte del mundo, ¿no? En eso nos orgullecemos, de ser una sociedad ocupada. Entonces, colectivamente, nosotros no siempre nos tomamos el tiempo para inspeccionar, para analizar esta creencia raíz, esta creencia base. Y normalmente lo que pasa es que que tiene que suceder un cambio radical o tenemos que tocar fondo para recién ver la necesidad de examinar nuestras prácticas espirituales y para recién poder entrar a una introspección.
See, now, if we or when we truly sit with this and analyze, not even analyze, but if we reason, if we use reason, then we can find that the starting thought, the starting idea, there's really only two options. We either hold as a foundational thought that we are all one, or we hold the thought that we are not one, that either we're greater or less than one, that there are numbers, that there's separation. Either there's separation between us and there's quantity and all of these things, or we are truly all one and united.
Y entonces, si usamos la razón, en realidad podemos partir de esa creencia base desde dos puntos fundamentales. Solo hay dos opciones. La primera es que todos somos uno, somos una unidad. Y si es que no partimos de allí, es que no somos uno. Y es allí en donde algunos son más, algunos son menos, aparecen las cantidades. Mientras que en la otra opción, realmente todos formamos parte de una unidad.
Now, the value of oneness, this is the the value of humanities team, because humanities team is founded on the idea of oneness. It is the mission. The mission statement is to essentially spread oneness in whatever way that it is called to being promoted. So oneness, we can see it as the core, as the value of this organization. It is a part of every step of the way. It's a part of the working team, and therefore it's transmitted into classes. It's shared with people who take these classes of being, so that whenever we interact with somebody, whether it's through email or through a call like this or in person, it doesn't matter if it's business or not. This is the whole point, is that there's no separation. In a framework of separation, as you were saying before, Sahit, there's this part of life and then there's that part of life, work and play, or day to day and then spiritual practice. This is the type of life that's in separation. Whereas in oneness, it's just life. And this is life. And there's no distinction between doing work and playing, because it's all part of one cohesive whole.
En el valor de la unidad, y aquí es importante en donde viene Humanities Team, en el valor de la unidad está formada esta organización, es la unidad. En la declaración de misión se encuentra que hay que difundir la unidad o la unicidad en cualquier manera que se presente. Entonces es ahí donde radica el valor de la organización, ya sea media. Y eso ocurre, el promover la unidad en cada aspecto de lo que hace la unidad. Puede ser en las llamadas, puede ser no relacionado al negocio, puede ser en llamadas como esta, siempre transmitir la unidad. En un sistema en un sistema en donde no hay separación, todo forma parte de la vida. La vida es la vida. Normalmente cuando nosotros estamos en un sistema separado, una cosa es el trabajo, otra cosa es el relajo, el salir a jugar, una cosa tiene que ver con el día a día y otra cosa es lo que haces en tu casa, ¿no? Entonces, en realidad, en la parte espiritual y en la unidad no hay separación. La vida es simple y llanamente la vida.
Sí. Gracias, Sahit. And I guess just to sum up, just to conclude this whole segment of Humanities Team, is the beauty of Humanities Team, in my eyes, is that it provides us a template to show us, to illustrate that, in this world of complexity, this world that prides itself on busyness and complexity, which would unequivocally say that there's not one universal value, Humanities Team shows us that, wait a minute, there is a universal value. There is a value that we can all share. It is the idea of oneness. It's not any particular religion. It's not any particular set of beliefs. It's not any particular set of words or prayers, because these are all symbols. But oneness is the symbol that we can all unite with. And it's something that we must all unite with. It's inevitable that we unite with this. And so there's no, whereas religion, it's kind of like setting up one against another. Oneness is just inclusivity of all. And this is the value that we all share already.
Para terminar con el segmento de Humanities Team, quiero decir que a mis ojos, en mi mirada, la belleza de Humanities Team está en que nos muestra, ya que dentro de este mundo que se hace orgulloso de ser complejo y ocupado, este mundo nos dice que no puede haber un solo valor que todo el mundo pueda compartir, no puede haber un valor universal, pero sí hay un valor universal que es la unidad, y no se trata de una religión, no se trata de un conjunto de creencias, ni tampoco de palabras, ni oraciones, porque esos son solo símbolos. El único símbolo en todo caso al que podemos todos y debemos relacionarnos es el de la unidad. Es algo inevitable realmente, mientras que en las religiones es un poco más una contra la otra, en la unidad es una inclusión, es un sistema de valores basados en la inclusión de todos.
Gracias. And I have to commend you. I don't know how you write this fast. You write pretty
I,
quickly.
I used to be a professional translator months ago.
Wow. Well, I can
And
tell.
you guys speak fast in America.
Sorry.
Estaba diciendo a Tim que he trabajado como traductor oficial y que los americanos hablan rápido. Ok, Tim. Y una de las cosas que a mí me dio curiosidad, le estoy diciendo a Tim que una de las cosas que me dio curiosidad es de que él vive la espiritualidad, parece ser desde muy pequeño y está rodeado de un mundo de personas, incluso su madre es una autora de libros espirituales y es canalizadora, bastante conocida. Tim, I was saying that one of the things that most caught my attention about you, it's because one thing to me is to be brought up in in the matrix and then just make the jump, which is a difficult. It has a process, but in your case, I don't know. For some reason, I have this idea that you've been brought up with these ideas, being your mom who she is, and you working for humanities team. So, what can you tell us about that?
So I've been blessed, very fortunate to have been raised uh, largely with these teachings kind of as a background. My mother is Karen Noe is her name, and she's a psychic medium. She holds classes and she receives communications from people who have left the physical body. And this sort of upbringing, where it's something that's seemingly impossible or something that would face skepticism, and I'm in the thick of it, and to experience it and to acknowledge that, okay, this is true. This has transcended all the doubt. There's no doubts that I can have anymore about this, because it's just like as I'm walking on the ground and it's supporting me, and so I know that the ground is beneath me. I know that people who leave the physical body communicate with us. And my mother has shown me this. And so she in the upbringing, along with just this presence, you know, on the trips over to school, I would be listening. She would have the Abraham tapes, Esther Hicks and Abraham playing. So I was exposed to all this. I wouldn't say that I was all that intrigued. I was, a high school teenager, but it was always in the background, and I was kind of forced into hearing these things.
Yo me siento bastante bendecido y me siento afortunado de haber sido criado con todas estas creencias en mi background. Mi madre es Karen Noe, que es una psíquica medium bastante conocida. Ella recibe comunicaciones de personas que han dejado el cuerpo físico y todo esto yo lo he visto durante mi crecimiento, entonces no hay un lugar, digamos, para el escepticismo. Yo he experimentado esto en mi vida completamente normal, ¿no? Incluso caminando, o sea, avanzando hacia mi vida, ya no he tenido dudas, ya no he tenido dudas de que esto sea trascendente, simple y llanamente lo he visto tanto que hay una claridad. Yo sé que las personas que han abandonado su cuerpo físico se comunican, es lo que mi madre me ha mostrado todo ese tiempo durante mi crianza, incluso en mis viajes hacia la escuela, escuchábamos las grabaciones de Esther Hicks y Abraham. Y eso no quiere decir que no haya sido un chico con inquietudes regulares como cualquier otro chico de la secundaria tampoco.
Yes, and so thank you, Sahid. So this was always kind of this I would say is the foundation, is this background exposure to these teachings, you know, conversations with God and so forth, Esther Hicks and Abraham, and just given that I had grown up with the knowing that life continues after beyond the body, or you know, body or not, perhaps is a better way of saying it. And so I guess I set myself, I have been set up very well to essentially experience all the crashing of the ego. You know, I don't think it's necessary for us to have a spiritual awakening through an ego crashing, so to speak. But this does happen fairly often, where people are brought kind of to rock bottom according to ego, according to worldly values and the physical, the illusory things. Because it's almost like you need to see through it, and the only time you see through it is when we're taken to the point of saying that there must be a better way. There must be a better way. Whatever I had valued, or whatever this world of, you know, physicality or the rat race or, you know, material pursuits, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so I was brought to this point, and fortunately, I had this anchor, this foundation of spiritual practice to kind of slingshot out of this place, out of this space.
Sí, he tenido como parte de la base de la base de mi crianza una exposición a los materiales de conversaciones con Dios, de Esther Hicks. Entonces, crecí creyendo en esto, en que la vida continúa más allá del cuerpo, o para ponerlo de una mejor manera, con o sin cuerpo hay vida. Entonces, esto me llevó a tener una muy buena experiencia. Incluso he visto la experiencia de cómo se destruye el ego. Y yo pienso, es mi opinión particular, que no necesariamente se requiere haber una destrucción del ego para que haya un despertar espiritual, pero esto es lo que normalmente sucede, ¿no? Cuando nosotros llegamos a tocar fondo, todo colapsa de acuerdo a la perspectiva del ego, ¿no? A través de la ilusión, para poder trascender la ilusión y que el ego pueda ver a través de lo que es ilusorio, ¿no? Entonces, pero sin importar eso, es esa sensación, porque es como tener una sensación de que toda esta ilusión, toda esta fisicalidad, la trampa de la rata, el conseguir las cosas materiales, realmente no funcionan. Entonces, he sido criado de una manera para poder salir disparado de ese sistema de pensamientos hacia el exterior, ¿no? Hacia lo que es real.
Sí. And so I'd say that I was launched out of this place with A Course in Miracles. This is the the teaching that just made everything clear to me when everything else seemed so insane. A Course in Miracles, this text, made everything crystal clear. And you know, it's a text that requires this a little willingness to understand what it's saying, but truly it puts things in perspective. It gives us what I call perfect perspective. It allows us, I guess, just this teaching in general, this is one form of the teaching that allows us to be in any situation, any circumstance, in peace, seeing perfection here now. And here now is eternal. Here now is not the sliver of time that ego thinking would have us believe. Here now is eternal. And so to be in the place where we recognize it doesn't matter what the circumstance is, or where we are, or when we are, or what is going on around us, within us is peace. And so this is as simple as the decision to allow this to be so.
Estaba diciendo de que sí, eso me permitió salir de ese lugar y en realidad encontrar el curso de milagros es lo que puso todo en claridad, toda la perspectiva. Cuando todo lo que estaba afuera parecía realmente insano, encontré curso de milagros. Curso de milagros es un texto que lo puso todo tan claro como un cristal. El texto sí es verdad que requiere las ganas de, o el propósito de poder estudiarlo y entenderlo, pero en mis propias palabras diría que pone tu perspectiva en la perspectiva perfecta. Es una forma de explicar las enseñanzas y esta forma me lleva a que en cualquier ciudad, en cualquier situación, en cualquier circunstancia hay paz. ¿No? Me lleva a estar siempre en el aquí y ahora, que es un elemento de la eternidad. El ego nos dice que el aquí y ahora es solamente una fracción de tiempo, pero cuando nosotros reconocemos la eternidad del aquí y ahora, no importa en dónde estás, en cuándo estás o las circunstancias que estén pasando a tu alrededor, siempre puedes encontrar paz. Y lo único que basta para empezar este viaje, digamos, es querer tener esa perspectiva. Eso es lo primordial.
Yes, and so I guess I know, Sahit, you were talking a bit before about, you know, why should we care? Why should we care about, say, A Course in Miracles or these concepts or this teaching? And the simple fact is why would we not care? What is truth? What is truth? Do we want to be pursuing something for an entire life that's just a fantasy? Do we want to be spinning the wheel that doesn't exist? Or do we want to be in a place where we are extending truth, where we're in eternal, where we're in this place where we're actually contributing to heaven, to building this heaven, this paradise here now? It's not something in the distant in another place. We don't have to work our way towards something down there or at this point in time or when such and such happens, then we'll be content. Why don't we decide to be content here and then see where it takes us? We're founded, all too often we believe mistakenly that we have to do something in order to be content. But this is an upside down way of seeing. Why can't we be content here? Why can't we feel accomplished here? Why can't we be at peace right here?
Sí, Jai, tú me estabas comentando antes por qué tendríamos que incorporar los conceptos de un curso de milagros, por qué estas enseñanzas. La pregunta que yo te hago es, ¿por qué no? ¿Cuál es la verdad? ¿Queremos realmente perseguir una fantasía toda nuestra vida? ¿Estar dándole vueltas a una rueda realmente que no existe? ¿O queremos ser extensiones de la verdad, extensiones de la eternidad y contribuir para formar el paraíso y el cielo en el aquí y el ahora? El cielo y el paraíso no se encuentran en un lugar distante, en otro lugar físico. No tenemos tampoco que ganarnos ni trabajar duro para llegar allí. ¿Qué pasaría si solo tomamos la decisión de estar contentos en este momento, aquí y ahora, y ver qué pasa una vez de que lo hacemos? Tenemos esta creencia equivocada de que tenemos que hacer algo para poder estar alegres, para poder estar contentos, cuando eso es una manera completamente inversa de pensamiento, porque podemos empezar estando contentos y alegres aquí y ahora.
So a couple things, Sahi. One thing that I'll share from my own experience. I grew up, as I've said, with a spiritual background or spiritual framework. But I was a skeptic and I was scientifically, mathematically inclined. I studied physics. My degree in physics, I went to Duke University and finished with a degree. I graduated with a degree in physics. And so, in my view, at that time, studying physics seemed to be ultimate reality. it seemed to be touching the surface of reality. Now, what I didn't know at the time is that it was just the surface. This physics is just inspecting the surface of reality. It's inspecting the form of things. From physics, I got interested in philosophy and interested in physics teaches us how to solve a problem, but philosophy teaches us what problem we should be solving in the first place. And so philosophy became pretty interesting too. And philosophy seemed to be perhaps an even deeper understanding of reality. Until we get to this spiritual nature of things, into scripture. And scripture is not just limited to religious text. Scripture is anything that conveys truth, conveys eternal truth, conveys spiritual truth, because spirit, ascribed to it, whether it's mind, this part that's not physical, this is a timeless representation of us. It is more essential in our nature because the physical is in time and there is an expiration date. There's a start date and an expiration date. Now, why would we want to associate with something that's limited with an expiration date? This is what physics studies, not all of physics, it doesn't have to be, but traditionally, this is what physics studies is this realm of space and time and matter. But all of these things come and go, vanish, and have an expiration date. Spirit is eternal, and spirit gets to the core of who we are. And this is spirit. We can call it different things, but this is as close as it gets to truth, to understanding our essential self.
Quiero contar dos cosas mías, dice Tim. Voy a contarte un par de cosas mías. La primera es que sí, yo crecí con este sistema de creencias espiritual, pero también era escéptico. Y yo estudié en la Universidad de Duke, tengo un degree en física, soy científico. Entonces, la visión que me daba la física parecía, todo el mundo cree que la visión que nos da la física es la realidad última, la realidad final. Pero lo que llegué a descubrir es que simple y llanamente toca la superficie de la realidad, más no toda la realidad. Y ya te dice cómo se forman las cosas, ¿no? Ahora, luego de eso, yo me dio un interés por la filosofía. Entonces, mientras la física me enseña cómo resolver un problema, la filosofía me enseñaba qué tipo de problemas cuáles son los problemas que voy a resolver, ¿no? Entonces, la filosofía me hacía entrar en una realidad más profunda hasta que llegué a lo que es la naturaleza espiritual, lo que son las escrituras. Y las escrituras no necesariamente tienen que ver con la religión, sino es cualquier escrito que transmita sabiduría, que transmita una verdad. Todo lo de nuestro cuerpo físico tiene una fecha de caducidad, ¿no? Eso es lo que estudian los científicos. Entonces, ¿cuál es el punto de relacionarnos con algo que está limitado, que tiene una fecha de caducidad, de identificarnos con eso? Cuando si es que entramos a la parte espiritual, podemos ver algo que trasciende mucho más allá y habla de la verdad de quién realmente somos.
Gracias, Sagi. Thank you.
And so, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to say it first in Spanish. Voy a ser honesto con él en un sentido de algo. Cuando leí Curso de Milagros, se me hizo bastante pesado. Vi que mucha gente lo estaba leyendo, pero se me hacía bastante pesado y bastante fresita en el sentido de que hablaba sobre el amor y toda la respuesta está en el amor, pero no sentía yo que me daba una respuesta lógica o me ayudaba de alguna manera a aplicarlo a mi vida. Tim, I was just saying that when I was reading Course in Miracles, at first it was very dense to me. It was very, and it had a lot of religion connotations. And at that time, I was, I was in a fight against religion because I was raised in a Catholic school. But at the same time, everything was everything was solved with the word love, which at that time my ego or my mind didn't understand at all. So I was like, how can I put this into, I mean, it's nice to think rhetorically about love and being good, but how can I actually improve my life or get out of the hell that I'm living right now using this concept?
So the important thing, the most important thing is to note that the most important thing is an inclusive thing. Now, isn't it interesting when I say where we have been taught to think that there's one and only one thing to the exclusion of others? But A Course in Miracles is an inclusive truth. So the most important thing is, among other things, is the simplicity, this complete, full simplicity of it. Now, to understand this simplicity requires what A Course in Miracles calls a little willingness, just a little willingness to see through or see beyond some of these terms that are laden with baggage, that come with all of this centuries of misunderstanding. A concept like sin, for instance. This is a concept that's traditionally presented in such a way that it's just so skewed and distorted that it's not even usable. But A Course in Miracles takes it and redefines it. To see what it's talking about in this redefined way requires a little willingness. Because without the little willingness, we could flip it this way. Without the little willingness, we get to a point and we read the word sin and we just stop because our mind already associates sin with a certain concept and we say, oh, this is not what I wanted to read. I'm just going to stop. But a little willingness, we get to sin and we say, well, I don't understand why I would talk about sin here, but let me read on to see why it uses the word sin here. For instance, in this particular example, A Course in Miracles defines sin as a mistake to be corrected rather than an evil to be punished. So a sin is just a mistake. And what is a mistake? Something that we're doing that's essentially spinning the wheel of illusion. We're putting effort when we sin. When we make a mistake, it's the same thing. It's putting effort into something that is not real. This is the only mistake. So when it's seen as a mistake, then it's just, the response is, oh, I'll just correct it because it's just a mistake. The alternative is when sin is this evil to be punished in an eternal way. It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's baffling. So A Course in Miracles takes some of this language that is rightfully so off-putting and redefines it in a way where it actually makes sense.
Ok, entonces, el curso de milagros requiere de tener una voluntad de querer ver un poco más allá de los conceptos que se nos presentan. Vamos a poner un ejemplo. El ejemplo es la palabra pecado, sin, ¿no? Que tiene detrás toda una interpretación cultural que ha sido venido dada por millones por miles de años, mejor dicho. Entonces, apenas yo abro el libro y encuentro la palabra pecado, digo, no, eso es algo que no quiero leer, ¿no? Y simple y llanamente me alejo. Pero el texto requiere un poco de voluntad de querer ver más allá de lo que hay. Y lo que hace el curso de milagros es reinterpretar, ¿no? Lo que nosotros conocemos tradicionalmente, el pecado es algo oscuro, es algo que ha sido distorsionado, es como algo diabólico que debe ser castigado por toda la eternidad. Mientras que el curso de milagros simple y llanamente nos pone que el pecado es un error que debe ser corregido, es que simple y llanamente estamos dándole cuerda a la rueda de algo que no es real realmente. Entonces, al darnos cuenta de eso, lo único que hay que hacer es decir, ok, no, estoy actuando en algo que no es real y simple y llanamente corrijo el error versus la otra interpretación de que es algo diabólico y que debe ser castigado por la eternidad, lo cual simple y llanamente es una palabrería barata que no es real, ¿no? Es querer ver a través de los términos que presenta Curso de Milagros.
So, thank you, Saeed. This is, and this is just an explanation of some of the terms that are used, which seem to be controversial, I guess, in this way. But more, why should we want to read A Course in Miracles? Why should we want to give this little willingness? Now, I'd like us to be honest here and to think of a time when we were set off, when we seem to have lost inner peace or inner contentment. Would we prefer to be in a state mentally, psychologically? Wouldn't we all prefer for this to have never happened? Wouldn't we all prefer to never experience a lack of peace? Put in a different way, wouldn't we just want to be in peace here now, eternally, forever? Of course we would. Of course. Why would anybody want to not be at peace? We all want peace. We all love peace. And if we're not in peace, we want peace. Peace, joy, bliss, love for all, joy. This is the state that we all can relate to. This is the thing that's shared with us all, is that we love to be in love. We love to be in joy and in peace. And if we're not, then we're doing something that we believe will get us to there. Now, our conditioning has set us up in such a way where we think that we have to do grand things, we have to accomplish impossible tasks, and then some, in order to experience these things, this peace, this love, this joy. This is how we've been conditioned. So A Course in Miracles is a psychological text. It's a tool of thought to unlearn this conditioning and to be in a position where we can approach any situation, any circumstance, anything that comes our way, and to see it and to be in peace. And if it's coming from a lack of peace, or if it's coming from a lack of love, then we see through this lack of love and supply the love. We supply the peace. If, for instance, somebody comes and starts berating us or yelling at us, screaming at us, rather than reacting, A Course in Miracles sets us up psychologically, instills a psychology in us where we can approach even absurd situations like this and be at peace and actually share peace and provide a solution, heal this situation, not just perpetuate it indefinitely. So this A Course in Miracles is one tool of many. That's a tool. It's a tool. It's not a religion. It's not a doctrine or a set of dogma. It's a tool of thought. Just as a hammer is a tool, a physical tool, that you can use the hammer to build a house, you can use it to tear down a house. We never ask, is the hammer true? This question doesn't make sense. Likewise, similarly, we don't need to ask, is A Course in Miracles true? Because it equally doesn't make sense. Is a hammer true? Is A Course in Miracles true? It's missing the point. Does A Course in Miracles work? Does it help? Yes, absolutely it works as a tool.
Bueno, esto era solo para explicar ciertos términos controversiales. Ahora la pregunta es, ¿por qué no querríamos leer un curso de milagros si todas las personas estamos buscando la paz? Cuando sucede algo que sucede alguna situación que nos saca de nuestra paz, que nos saca de la felicidad, nosotros no acaso no deseamos que esa paz que teníamos no se haya ido. Eso es algo, no queremos mantener la paz por siempre, no es algo que quisiéramos hacer todos, ¿acaso? Eso es algo que nos pone a todos en común, es un deseo que todos compartimos, ¿no? Todos nos relacionamos, todos queremos mantener ese nivel de paz en nosotros. Y nosotros hemos sido condicionados para creer que para lograr ese estado de paz, ese estado de felicidad, tenemos que hacer grandes cosas, tenemos que hacer tareas completamente imposibles, ¿no? Para poder tener esa experiencia de alegría y de paz. Entonces, con el curso de milagros es una herramienta, es un texto psicológico, es una herramienta de pensamiento, ¿no? Que nos permite ver cualquier eh, circunstancia o evento y poder seguir manteniendo nuestro estado de paz. Incluso si el evento aparece como carente de amor o carente de paz, somos nosotros los que suministramos y proveemos el amor y la paz. Entonces, esto no es una religión, esto no es un dogma, esto no es una doctrina, es simple y llanamente un martillo. Es un martillo con el cual, si tú piensas en un martillo, puedes construir una casa o puedes derribarla. Pero cuando alguien hace eso, nadie se pregunta, ¿es el martillo es real acaso? Esa no es la pregunta. El, no debería existir la pregunta o no es la pregunta correcta. El curso de milagros es real porque al final lo que interesa es de que funciona, psicológicamente funciona, es una herramienta psicológica para mantener esa paz, que es lo que al final todos queremos, ¿no? Podemos estar en paz y compartir la solución, sanar la situación. Y para eso el curso de milagros funciona. Es solamente una herramienta de pensamiento.
Thank you, Saeed. And I guess just one brief thing to add to this is, you know, it's in our busy society, you know, where there's so much effort. What if one day we learn that all this effort was for nothing? You know, put all this effort into, say, building a huge tower, and we learn that the tower is just an illusion. Why, why did we put this effort into this? Now, A Course in Miracles and other teachings like A Course in Miracles, other teachers rooting in truth, show us that in truth, no effort is necessary. When we're in spirit, when we're inspirited, we are called into saying what we need to say. We're called into doing what we need to do when so needed. We're called into not doing when we're called to. But all through this, just as I've said previously, that this is a state of eternal joy and peace, then all through this process, even when we're doing things or building things, it's in this state of joy and peace. And so there is no effort in joy. There is no effort in peace. Isn't this what paradise is? Isn't this what perfection is? To build something that is eternal, to be a part of something that's forever, without any wasted effort, without anything that's not perfectly joyous and not perfectly in love.
Y una cosa más para agregar, en esa sociedad en la que estamos ocupados, ¿qué pasaría si un día nos damos cuenta de que hemos construido una torre muy alta que al final resulta ser una ilusión, ¿no? ¿Y por qué hemos puesto tanto esfuerzo en hacer esto que en realidad es una ilusión? Un curso de milagros y otras enseñanzas que están enraizadas en la verdad nos enseñan que el esfuerzo no es necesario, que cuando estamos en espíritu nosotros somos llamados. a decir cosas, a hacer cosas y a veces hasta no hacer ciertas cosas. Entonces, es un estado eterno de alegría, de paz, de gratitud, en donde nosotros hacemos cosas desde nuestro ser y sentimos paz, sentimos alegría y no hay ningún tipo de esfuerzo involucrado, ¿no? Pasamos a ser parte de este continuo eterno. Construir, ¿qué pasaría si en vez de eso nos dedicamos a construir un continuo eterno sin desperdiciar ningún esfuerzo, ¿no? Tim, now that you said that, I wanted to ask you many things. Many people, when they hear us about this, this joy. Of course, I understand what you're trying to explain, but let me put myself in the shoes of some of my friends and the questions that I guess, no, that I get. Um, like Sahid, I need to eat, I need to work, I need to provide for my family. Right now, I'm in a country where we have to basically fight for our food. There's no work, and you're asking me to read this text that talks to me about an illusion and says that the hunger that my family is feeling is an illusion, but I am feeling it. So, and what about law of attraction and wanting to manifest money? Is that not spiritual too? Acabo de preguntarle a Tim algunas preguntas que a veces me llegan, ¿no? Cuando nos escuchan hablar de esta espiritualidad y del amor y de que todo esto es perfecto y de eternidad, mucha gente me dice, Said, sí, pero yo también tengo que comer, tengo que dar alimento a mi familia. ¿Qué pasa con esto de la ley de la atracción? ¿No puedo acaso atraer un auto? ¿No puedo ganar lotería, tener dinero? ¿Cómo aplico esto en mi vida real, ¿no? Y que no sea un cuento de hadas?
So, A Course in Miracles speaks of illusion, as do other spiritual teachings. Now, we create our experience or make our own experience. The experience is not an illusion. We can believe in illusion. This is the distinction. When we're experiencing something, when we're feeling something, it's real. It's real. This feeling, this experience is real. So we can't say that hunger is an illusion, but we can say that a mindset that when we're holding this belief that I need to do things that I don't want to do in order to get something that I need, this is a misguided belief. Now, I understand that people can say, well, I need to work so that I can get food and do this. But when we understand divinity and the infinite intelligence that is woven through all of this existence, we know intuitively, we know that the struggle involved with this is not necessary. We know that when we are devoted fully, there's no in between, there's no 50% devotion to truth. There's truth, and then there's the belief that there's illusion. But truth is true. It's never 50% true. So when we're in truth, and this doesn't look any one particular way, it's not one particular book, it's not one particular lifestyle, it's not one particular action. It's one, but it is one shared state. It's a fully devoted state of being. It's a state of acknowledgement that there is an infinite intelligence that is guiding me so long as I accept it. And because it's infinite intelligence and not just brain intelligence, it knows better than this brain could ever know. And so if we tap into this, then we can move beyond this life of seeming endless struggle and misfortune and doing things that we don't want to do. Because infinite intelligence doesn't have, this is not part of our plan. We are here for abundance, to experience perfection. We're not here for mediocrity. So all of these spiritual practices, which often come with a quieting, with a tuning out of distractions, you know, we speak of illusions. They can also be called distractions, things that distract from the truth. You know, we're familiar with the term, you know, when turn the light on and the darkness disappears. Sure. But the darkness is what is here, so long as there's not a light to distract us from it. So this presence, this darkness, which we can think of as the infinite intelligence, darkness is everywhere, unless there's a light to distract from it. And so this is what we seek. This is what we attain in meditation and prayer and reading texts and listening to speakers and inspiration. Is connecting with this presence. Michael Beckwith calls it the presence that's never an absence. No matter where we are, no matter who we're with or what circumstance we're in, we are connected to this infinite intelligence.
Ok, entonces quiero decir que nosotros creamos nuestra propia realidad, ¿no? Nosotros podemos referirnos, podemos creer si queremos en una ilusión y la experiencia que tenemos no es una ilusión, es real. La experiencia y la sensación o el sentimiento es real. Entonces no podemos decir quizás de que el hambre sea una ilusión, pero sí podemos decir que tenemos una creencia en nuestro sistema de creencias, como por ejemplo, yo necesito hacer algo que no quiero hacer para conseguir algo que necesito. Y esa es una creencia equivocada. Entiendo que la gente pueda decir necesito comida. Entiendo que esta vida tiene bastantes problemas que son retantes, pero la vida misma está entretejida en toda esta situación y sabemos desde el lado de la verdad que esta lucha, que este esfuerzo no es necesario. Ahora, cuando uno se encuentra completamente entregado a la verdad, y aquí me refiero que tú no puedes estar entregado a la verdad en un 50% o en un porcentaje, o estás entregado a la verdad o no lo estás, así de sencillo. En el caso de la ilusión sí podrían haber porcentajes. Entonces, cuando estamos totalmente conectados con la verdad, y esto no necesariamente es, el estar conectado con la verdad no necesariamente es una manera en particular de ser, un estilo de vida, no es un libro, es simple y llanamente un estado del ser que nosotros compartimos, en el que es un estado de saber, simple y llanamente, al, por así decirlo, al 100%, totalmente, es un estado de saber. Sabemos que hay una inteligencia infinita que nos está guiando si es que nosotros lo permitimos, y sabemos que esa inteligencia es tan infinita que supera la inteligencia de nuestro cerebro, ¿no? Entonces, por lo tanto, conoce más cosas, sabe mejor. Y podemos entonces calibrarnos, podemos ajustarnos mucho más allá de esos problemas que estamos teniendo en nuestra vida, esos esfuerzos. Nosotros estamos en realidad, por esta inteligencia infinita, nuestro estado natural es el de la abundancia, no es el de la mediocridad. Entonces, pero simple y llanamente necesitamos calibrarnos lejos de la distracción, que normalmente esa distracción nos aleja, a la ilusión también le podemos llamar distracción, y esa distracción nos aleja de la verdad. También se dice que es necesario que encendamos la luz para que la oscuridad desaparezca, pero si esa fuente entretejida de inteligencia infinita está en todos, entonces también está en la oscuridad, a menos que haya una luz para distraerte, ¿no? Es por eso que nosotros buscamos estar conectados con ese estado de verdad, ya sea mediante la meditación, mediante las oraciones o mediante escuchar a conferencistas que hablen sobre estos temas. We have a greeting here. It says, Hugs from Humanities Team Argentina. And Cristina Garcia says, hi.
Hello. Hey, Christina and Gabrielle. Thank you for joining. Gracias.
So Tim, I was talking to a friend in the morning, and let me say this in Spanish first. Estaba hablando con un amigo en la mañana que tiene un problema y ha tratado de seguir estos caminos espirituales para lograr una solución, ¿no? Entonces me dice, ¿cómo te lo puedes tomar tan a la ligera todo? Yo le digo, una parte que al menos que yo hago es leer a muchos autores para que estas creencias vayan entrando en mí por todo ámbito, en conferencias, en meditaciones. Cuando quiero saber qué es real, voy a la meditación y lo siento en mi ser, pero me apoyo de la lectura también para tener todo un curso teórico que me pueda sostener. Tim, I was telling the audience that today I had a conversation with a friend that he always comes for consultation, but he's reading one book and then leaves for another and then for another. But his belief system doesn't actually change. He wants to try to use the mind to understand certain things, but I was telling him how important was for me to actually research many authors that speak about the truth and kind of in a way that was like getting these new beliefs that are more close to the truth into my brain. I don't know if you, and perhaps Course in Miracles might be a little bit difficult for some people, or because you have a Course in Miracles study group, and the way you explain it is fantastic. I wish you did it in Spanish. And and what can they, if not Course in Miracles, where can one start? And what about what would you suggest for people trying to say, okay, you're talking about a belief system. How do I change my belief system?
Well, first of all, Sahit, perhaps this is our joint endeavor. We can launch un curso en milagros
Mm-hmm.
study group in Spanish. I'd actually support this. We'll float this out into the cosmos. But to take a page from A Course in Miracles, if we can start in English here, A Course in Miracles, the most beautiful teaching in A Course in Miracles, remember, the inclusive, most beautiful teaching, is the little willingness. The little willingness. This is the only thing that's necessary to change a belief system. And it actually requires no effort. No effort. What is the little willingness? The little willingness, in effect, is the statement to the world, to the universe, to God, to spirit, is just the statement, the proclamation to this existence. I am willing to see things differently. This is all. In this statement, we are acknowledging that our belief system, that our perspective may not be the best, may not be perfect. And so we're keeping the door open for miracles, for truth to be presented to us. Why would infinite intelligence make its presence difficult to see or know? Why? It doesn't. It doesn't. It only is difficult if we're closing the door. The image we can keep in mind, perhaps, is that this door to truth is one of these automatically opening doors. It's always open, but we can hold it shut. We can give effort into holding this door of truth shut. Now, the little willingness is essentially letting go of this door. Just, Esther Hicks says, drop the oars. Drop the oars in the boat and just be taken by the current. This is not a sacrifice. This is not a surrender of something. It's giving up nothing and receiving everything. It's giving up illusion and things that don't exist, these thought systems that maybe don't work, these beliefs that don't work. We're giving that up. and receiving truth. So it's not a sacrifice, it's not a surrender. It's an embracing of truth. It's an allowing the door to be open.
En el curso de milagros, la enseñanza más bella que puede haber es la enseñanza de la inclusión y habla de la pequeña voluntad. La única cosa necesaria para cambiar tu sistema de creencias es la voluntad, la pequeña voluntad que le llama el curso de milagros. No requiere ningún esfuerzo. Esa pequeña voluntad es como lanzarle una declaración al mundo, al universo, al Dios, al espíritu. Es una proclamación de que yo estoy con la voluntad de querer ver las cosas diferente. Eso ya te hace consciente de que tu sistema de creencias de repente no es el más efectivo o no es el mejor. Y dejas una puerta para que sucedan los milagros y la verdad sea presentada a ti. ¿Por qué razón la inteligencia infinita haría difícil obtener su presencia? No la hace, no es verdad. Para poner una imagen, si hay una puerta de la verdad, es una puerta que siempre se abre y se abre y se cierra, se abre y se cierra como una puerta automática, nunca está completamente cerrada. Es una puerta automática, pero somos nosotros los que podemos mantenerla cerrada con haciendo un esfuerzo. Solamente es querer tener la intención de soltar, como dice la metáfora, soltar los remos y dejar que el bote vaya por la corriente. No es un sacrificio, no es una rendición, no es rendirse a nada, es no rendirse a nada y recibirlo todo. Es dejar ir las cosas que no funcionan y recibir la verdad. Abrazar la verdad y mantener esa puerta abierta.
So I hope that was at least somewhat helpful for your friend.
Yes,
Change belief systems.
I'll ask him to watch the video. So it's only the willingness, and I understand that the course comes with a self-explanatory guide.
I think you're talking about the workbook, perhaps.
I'm not quite sure.
There are so the willingness, I'd say, is one of the, so A Course in Miracles has a text. There's a few sections. There's a text, there's a workbook, and there's a manual for teachers. These are just like kind of three parts of the work. Really, the text is where we can get into the heart of its psychology. The workbook is a daily practice. So it gives us a practical thing to think about throughout the day. The text is more of getting into the psychology of it.
Ok. Dice que el libro viene en tres textos. El texto del maestro, el libro del cuaderno de trabajo, que son ejercicios psicológicos, y el texto en sí, que es el cuerpo de texto, ¿verdad? I have another comment here. Diane Zun Chu. Hello there.
Hello.
So perhaps, team, it would be let's give it a thought. What perhaps we can do recorded videos or something to kind of present an introductory material for Course in Miracles, perhaps.
Yes. Awesome. I'll need to get a Spanish copy.
I have it, I think. I'll give it to you. Estaba diciendo a Tim que quizá podemos ponernos de acuerdo para hacer algún tipo de video o para hacer algún tipo de curso pequeñito de introductorio a curso de milagros. Okay, Tim, it's been an hour. I want to thank you so much for being here. We've been talking about this for ages, and then I finally decided to do it because if I was going to wait until everything was perfect, then I would have waited a long time. Le estoy diciendo a Tim que muchas gracias, que habíamos hablado de esto durante mucho tiempo y si esperaba que todo fuera perfecto iba a esperar por mucho tiempo más. Anything else you would like to say to all the Spanish speakers in Humanities team that are watching you now.
Sí, gracias y amo. Vi amo, ti amo, everybody. I much appreciation, love, and joy, and just thank you all for being a part of this collaborative awakening that we're all experiencing now. We are all truly indebted to one another for this. So thank you, Sahit, for starting this.
Thank you, Tim. Y Tim dice que nos ama a todos, que muchas gracias, que les desea bastante amor, alegría, aprecio y gracias por ser parte de este despertar colectivo en el que todos formamos parte. I'll see you soon, Tim.
Thank you, Sahit.
Bye.
Bless. Love you.
Love you too.